the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless. God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
Welcome back to the Kyle McCullers Show. I am your host, Kyle McCullers, and today we're breaking down a major showdown in the White House. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thought he could walk into Washington, pressure Trump for more money, and get away with his usual demands. Instead, he got shut down by JD Vance and Donald Trump, and let's just say it didn't go well for him. JD Vance calls out Zelensky, telling him not to come here and be disrespectful. Trump puts his foot down, telling Zelensky America has already done enough. And the media tries to twist the story, but the footage tells a different tale. And beyond that, we're going to talk about the difference between being proud and being prideful, and what it means to be truly proud of your country. And the big question, has America already done enough for Ukraine? This is one of the biggest moments in U.S.-Ukraine relations, and we need to talk about it. So grab your coffee, sit tight, and let's break it all down. So there is a 50-minute video of this entire meeting with Zelensky and the White House, and we're not going to focus on the first 40 minutes. We're going to focus on the last 10 minutes because the last 10 minutes is kind of where all the fireworks come. But keep that in mind for later because we're going to talk about that. The moment things really get escalated in this meeting is when Vice President JD Vance steps in to add his 2 cents to a question. And let's be clear, his issue wasn't about funding. It was about diplomacy in the way to seek peace. Zelensky came into this meeting expecting the U.S. to continue blindly funding Ukraine with no questions asked. But when Trump made it clear that things were going to change, Zelensky didn't take it well. But it's when JD answers the question and Zelensky has almost a violent reaction. Check this out.
For me to make a deal with that kind of hate, he's got tremendous hatred. And I understand that, but I can tell you the other side isn't exactly in love with, him either. So it's not a question of alignment. I'm aligned with the world.
Hey, I will respond to this. So look, for 4 years in the United States of America, we had a president who stood up at press conferences and talked tough about Vladimir Putin, and then Putin invaded Ukraine and destroyed a significant chunk of the country. The path to peace and the path to prosperity is maybe engaging in diplomacy. We tried the pathway of Joe Biden of thumping our chest and pretending that the President of the United States' words mattered more than the President of the United States' actions. What makes America a good country is America engaging in diplomacy. That's what President Trump is doing.
Can I ask you?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. So he occupied our parts, big parts of Ukraine, part of East and Crimea. So he occupied it on 2014. So during a lot of years, so I'm not speaking about just Biden, but those time was Obama, then President Obama, then President Trump, then President Biden, now President Trump, and God bless, now President Trump will stop him. But during 2014, nobody stopped him. He just occupied and took. He killed people. You know what the contact
2015.
2014 and
2014.
Yeah. So
I was not here.
Yeah, but
that's exactly right.
Yes, but during 2014 till 2022, the situation the same. The people have been dying on the contact line. Nobody stopped him. You know that we had conversations with him, a lot of conversations, my bilateral conversation, and we signed with him, me, like a new president. In 2019, I signed with him the deal. I signed with him, Macron and Merkel, we signed ceasefire. Ceasefire. All of them told me that he will never go. We signed him with gas contract. Gas contract. Yes, but after that, he broken this ceasefire. He killed our people and he didn't exchange prisoners. We signed the exchange of prisoners, but he didn't do it. What kind of diplomacy, JD, you are speaking?
I'm talking about the kind of diplomacy that's going to end the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Count once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's respectful to come to the Oval Office of the United States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during.
Have you said thank you once? This
A lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States of America and the president who's trying to save your country.
Please, you think that if you will speak very loudly about the war,
He's not speaking loudly. He's not speaking loudly. Your country's in big trouble.
Can I
Wait a
answer?
minute. No,
Can
you've
I
done a lot
answer?
of talking. Your country is in big trouble.
I know.
You're not
I
winning.
know.
You're not winning this. You have a damn good chance of coming out okay because of
Mr.
us.
President, we are staying in our country, staying strong from the very beginning of the war. We've been alone, and we are thankful. I said thanks
You haven't
in
been
this
alone.
cabinet,
You
and
haven't
not
been
only
alone.
in this cabinet.
We gave you, through
I
this
said thank
stupid
you.
president, $350 billion.
You voted
we gave
for
you
your
military
president.
equipment.
You
and your
voted
men
for
are
your
brave, but they had to
president.
use our military.
What about
If you didn't have
You
our
invited
military
me-
equipment,
you invited
if
me
you
to
didn't
speak-
have our military equipment, this war would have been over in 2 weeks.
In 3
okay?
days, I heard it from Putin. In 3 days, this is something
Maybe
new.
less.
In 2 weeks, of course,
It's
yes.
going to be a very hard thing to do business like this. I tell you.
Just say thank you.
I said a lot of times thank you to American people.
Except that there are disagreements, and let's go litigate those disagreements rather than trying to fight it out in the American media when you're wrong. We know that you're wrong.
But you see, I think it's good for the American people to see what's going on.
I understand, sir.
I think it's
I
very
understand.
important. That's why I kept this going so long. You have to be thankful. You don't have the
I'm
cards.
thankful.
You're buried there. Your people are dying.
tell you
You're
again,
running low
I know.
on soldiers. Listen,
Please,
you're running
Mr.
low
President.
on soldiers. It would be a damn good thing.
Mr.
And
President.
then you tell us, I don't want a ceasefire. I don't want a ceasefire. I want to go, and I want this. Look, if you could get a ceasefire right now, I tell you, you take it so the bullets stop flying and your men stop getting killed.
Of course, we want to stop the war.
But you're saying you don't want a ceasefire.
But I said to you,
I want a ceasefire.
with guarantees.
Because you'll get a ceasefire faster than an agreement.
Ask our people about ceasefire, what they think.
That wasn't
It doesn't
with
matter
me.
for you what
That
what
wasn't
this
with me.
means. It
That was
wasn't
with
you.
a guy named Biden who was not a smart person.
This
That
is
was
your,
with,
this
that was
is
with
your
Obama.
president. It was your president.
Excuse me. That was with Obama, who gave you sheets, and I gave you javelins.
Yes.
I gave you the javelins to take out all those tanks. Obama gave you sheets. In fact, the statement is Obama gave sheets and Trump gave javelins. You got to be more thankful, because let me tell you, you don't have the cards. With us, you have the cards. But without us, you don't have any cards.
One more question to Mr. Vice President. I'm sorry.
It's going to be a tough deal to make,
Um,
because the attitudes have to change.
what if Russia breaks ceasefire? What if Russia breaks peace talks? What do you do then? I understand that it's a heated.
And if we're out, you'll fight it out. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but you'll fight it out. But you don't have the cards. But once we sign that deal, you're in a much better position. But you're not acting at all thankful. And that's not a nice thing. I'll be honest, that's not a nice thing. All right, I think we've seen enough. What do you think? Huh?
Okay, so you see, Vance wasn't challenging the money. He was talking about diplomacy. There's an exchange, and then JD is now calling out Zelensky's attitude, right? He tells Zelensky that you're not going to come here and be disrespectful. This is the Oval Office. This is the President of the United States. This is not Joe Biden. You don't come here and act this way to the new administration of the United States. You're a guest. Don't be disrespectful. And Zelensky didn't take it. You could see he was folding his arms. He was rolling his eyes. He had a terrible tone. He basically implied there was two major things that he did wrong. He implied that Ukraine has done everything on their own. I mean, he basically said that, right? And that's just not even reality. And the Americans have funded the majority. When Trump says 350 billion, people use this word 183. That's 183 billion in cash. But we also gave them military equipment. We gave them other assets. So he's lumping everything together and saying, yeah, we basically have given you close to $400 billion in weapons and equipment and ammunition for you to fight your war. And if we hadn't have done that, you would have lost this war a long time ago. And so, and the other thing is Zelensky said something very weird. He said something like, you don't feel it now, but you're going to feel it later. And to me, that was a threat. Like, he said, oh, you don't have an ocean. You have an ocean between, you and us. You have this ocean. And that's the only reason you don't feel it now, but you will feel it later. What is that supposed to mean? Right? And at that moment, that's when Trump had enough. And he stepped in, and that's when the real fireworks began. Trump let Zelensky talk until he's heard enough. And he actually says that. He's like, you've talked enough, like, be quiet. Then he lays it down. America's already done enough. Europe's done this, but we've done much more. And basically, you're not entitled, right? And he's like, don't tell us how we're going to feel. You don't have the cards. He's basically saying, you don't have any leverage. You cannot make demands. You have no negotiation position. You have put yourself in a position of weakness and dependence. You're dependent on American military might. You're dependent on American cash. And if we pull our hand away, you will be swallowed up by the Russians. You don't have any stance whatsoever. So don't come in here and act as if you can make demands. And that just silences him. It just shuts him down. Trump was like, you're talking to the President of the United States now, not Biden. Not some old codger that can't eat his ice cream and has to be put to sleep. And the room goes silent, and the power dynamic totally shifts over to Trump. Check this out.
In the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You
God bless. You will not have a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem. Don't tell us what we're going to feel.
I'm not telling you.
Because you're in no position to dictate that.
That's exactly what you're doing.
You're in no position to dictate what we're going to feel. We're going to feel very good.
You will feel influence.
We're going to feel very good and very strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed yourself to be in a very bad position, and he happens to be right about it.
From the very beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having
not
cards.
Playing cards.
Right now, you don't.
You're
playing cards. You're playing cards.
Serious.
You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country, that's backed you far more than a lot of people said they should have.
Now, here's the part where the media tries to play games, okay? So reporters on the left-leaning legacy media and on the left side, really, claim that Trump and JD ambushed Zelensky. And they were claiming this when the clips were coming out in the beginning on X. And it was great because then the full footage comes out And you can watch the entire meeting from beginning to end, and that narrative went up in smoke. And it just shows, it's just more evidence to show how disingenuous the legacy media and the left are, because they want to manipulate people into believing that Trump is doing terrible. And everything Trump has been doing has been aces, and there's nothing they can do. They have to lie because they cannot attack reality. They have to lie, and they have to spin it to make it look bad because there's nothing to attack. So they have to make it up. And so it was great when this whole thing came out. You could see from the very beginning that this was not an ambush. Others try to frame this as a diplomatic disaster, like Trump was being really mean to Zelensky or very rude. But it is a diplomatic disaster. There's no doubt about it, but it's not for America. The diplomatic disaster was on behalf of Ukraine and Ukraine's president. The Ukrainian cabinet voted for this deal. It wasn't about Zelensky. Zelensky doesn't have the power. The cabinet voted for this deal. They approved and passed the deal. Zelensky coming on Friday was only a formality, which is insane to think about because you can see his attitude was he lost it, right? And it is a diplomatic disaster because there's a viral clip showing the Ukrainian ambassador and her reaction, and she was red. She was red. I'm talking about red of embarrassment. Scarlet red, head down, holding her fingers on the bridge of her nose in shame, disgust, anxiety, fear, all those emotions that flood over you when you cannot believe what you're hearing, right? And there's another clip or another picture of Marco Rubio sitting in a seat like this. I mean, looking so uncomfortable, right? Because Zelensky told Rubio and Vance that the deal was done, everything was good, and then he comes and he acts a fool in the White House. Now there is a conversation of, the deal was voted on and the deal was done, but it still needed to be signed by Ukrainian's Minister of Finance and our Secretary of the Treasury. After this meeting, Trump and Vance in the White House, they kick Zelensky out. Zelensky was supposed to stay there for 3 hours. He was only there for those 50 minutes and so, and then he got kicked out. They told him, you got to go, and you don't come back until you want peace. And the great thing about this is that the American public saw all the footage. We've seen the footage. We saw the argument that really should have been behind closed doors, or that's how it was traditionally. And even JD Vance tried to give Zelensky an off-ramp. He's like, hey, let's not litigate this in front of the American media. Because JD knew. JD understood. Zelensky is a foreigner. He doesn't understand. JD understood. This is the podcast era. This is the independent media era. This is the internet era where everything lives online forever. Trump owning Hillary Clinton in the 2016 presidential debate is forever, and it is OG clips, and it will never die. It will be part of Trump's Hall of Fame forever record, and it's the same thing with this. This will never die. This has never happened before in political history, and it didn't. I'm telling you right now, it's done nothing but help Trump in the Americans in America. Like, he has the highest poll numbers he's ever had. But I'm telling you right now, this exchange makes Trump look even better. I think that's why the legacy media is melting, losing their mind. They have to make stuff up because there's nothing that they can say. There's nothing that they can spin. Like, the majority of Americans look at that exchange and think Zelensky is an entitled, rude, disrespectful, ungrateful man. Period. I guarantee you, if you polled Americans, 70% and more would think that. Which means that the way Trump handled it, the way Trump defended America, the way Trump broke stuff down was like, listen, first off, you aren't alone. We gave you all the money. We gave you all the equipment. I'm the one negotiating. And and Trump made a beautiful point. Vladimir Putin broke the deal with Obama, just like Zelensky said in 2015 and invaded Crimea. He broke it. He didn't break it with Trump for 4 years. He said, and Trump made a great point too. I mean, that's what I'm saying. When we watch this, there's just so many good points. He said, I went through, and I didn't think about it this way, but I think that's where the media not only messed up in a very big way. The 4 years that Trump was in office, it's already been found out that Hillary Clinton and the campaign manufactured the Steele dossier. They were spying on Donald Trump's campaign. They did all this horrible legal crap that she never got in trouble for. It was all Russia, 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 right? The Russia hoax, right? And then the Biden laptop, the Hunter Biden laptop, which was all Hunter Biden's and his mess up, they tried to put it on Russia. So they tried to put the Steele dossier in Russia, they tried to put the laptop on Russia, and they tried to put Trump and tie it all to Trump. And so Trump said for 4 years, Vladimir Putin was blamed for things that weren't his fault, and they tried to tie me to him, and me and Vladimir went through that together, being falsely accused together.
What are you saying?
She's asking, what if Russia breaks the ceasefire?
What if anything? What if a bomb drops on your head right now? Okay? What if they broke it? I don't know. They broke it with Biden because Biden, they didn't respect him. They didn't respect Obama. They respect me. Let me tell you, Putin went through a hell of a lot with me. He went through a phony witch hunt where they used him and Russia. Russia. You ever hear of that deal? That was a phony Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scam. Hillary Clinton, Shifty Adam Schiff. It was a Democrat scam. And he had to go through that. And he did go through it. We didn't end up in a war. And he went through it. He was accused of all that stuff. He had nothing to do with it. It came out of Hunter Biden's bathroom. It came out of Hunter Biden's bedroom. It was disgusting. And then they said, oh, the laptop from hell was made by Russia. The 51 agents. The whole thing was a scam. And he had to put up with that. He was being accused of all that stuff. All I can say is this. He might have broken deals with Obama and Bush, and he might have broken them with Biden. He did, maybe. Maybe he didn't. I don't know what happened. But he didn't break them with me. He wants to make a deal. I don't know if you can make a deal. The problem is, I've empowered you to be a tough guy. And I don't think you'd be a tough guy without the United States. And your people are very brave. But you're either going to make a deal or we're out.
That's where the relationship was developed. The enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? And that's really what comes down to it, is by the legacy media doing that, they not only miscalculated politically, they miscalculated globally, because now it put two guys together that went through trauma, a traumatic thing, right? And trying to ruin the reputation. And it's not like you need to do that. But you had to lie and make it up, and now you're discredited when the truth comes out, and now they're exonerated, and now you've created this relationship with them where, you know, there's respect there. Like he said, he didn't respect Obama, he didn't respect Biden, but he respects me. And that's where Zelensky messed up. Vladimir doesn't listen and doesn't care to anyone he doesn't respect. He respects Trump because of the dossier and all that stuff. He also respects Trump because he got shot and survived. He also respects Trump because he saw how America railroaded him in the 2020 election, and he sees and saw the 2024 election was a landslide. Putin doesn't respect Zelensky. He doesn't respect France or Macron. He doesn't respect NATO. The only reason he respects NATO is because of America. That's it. He doesn't respect Germany. They don't have any defense. He doesn't care about them. The only reason he has a problem with NATO is because he has to contend with the power and the might of the United States of America. But he has a great relationship with Donald Trump. And if Donald Trump does a deal, Vladimir Putin will stay the course. And Zelensky completely miscalculated because he took the mistakes of the predecessors and put it on Trump. Almost like you take the mistakes of your ex-girlfriend and put it on your current one. It's stupid. And he ruined it. He threw a tantrum, he ruined it, and now his funding is going to get pulled. A lot of stuff is going to happen to him. And he's going to wake up and realize just how bad of a mistake he did, and his ambassador did. And the media can try to spin it all they want, but we have the full footage, and you're not fooling anybody. Zelensky had 40 minutes to make his case. 40 minutes to make his case. He had every opportunity to argue for more funding and all that. And when he realized Trump wasn't going to be manipulated, that's when he got frustrated and he started acting like a child and demanding. The truth is, this was never an ambush. This was the first time in years that a U.S. president didn't roll over for Ukraine. And that's why the media is losing their minds. Well, this moment brings up a bigger discussion, and something that I was really thinking about this morning, which is what's the difference between being proud and being prideful? And I wanted to know what is there biblical? Is there a biblical understanding of this? And there is. A proud person recognizes what they've built, stands on their beliefs, and is humble before God, right? They show respect and value for what their hands have done, but understanding that they could not have done this without God, because God is the one who's given them the ability, the life, everything. So there's a humility always with a proud person, but they're still proud of what has been achieved, what has been accomplished, and they should glory in what they've done. You should glory in the championship that you won because you woke up every single day, you trained multiple times a day, you did all that work, and now you've accomplished the goal. You woke up every single day and you wrote and you wrote and you wrote. You spent all those months looking for an agent and you got one, and you put your heart and soul into getting this book out, and the book does really well, and now you're being awarded for all your hard work. You should be proud of that, okay? And recognize that you couldn't have done it without the Lord and without your support system and all the people that are there for you, but you should be proud of your work. But a prideful person thinks that they deserve everything without giving anything back, especially recognition. A prideful person believes they are the center. It wasn't God giving them the ability. It wasn't their wife or husband supporting them. It was all them. They're the ones. They're the center. They refuse to listen to or acknowledge that they're wrong. They make more demands. They have no appreciation whatsoever. And when you think about that, Zelensky's attitude was not one of gratitude. There's a small clip that's going around where someone from the media pool asked Zelensky, "Why did you not bring a suit? Why are you not wearing a suit?" And it's very interesting because everyone in the pool is wearing a suit. Everyone sitting down is wearing a suit. The only one that's not wearing a suit is Zelensky. And I was thinking about it, because I think there was something around online saying, he didn't wear a suit because it shows that he's in war. No, he's not. You're not in war over here. You're on a diplomatic mission. And I just was thinking in my mind, before he left his hotel, he's either too dumb to understand how politics really work, or he is doing it on purpose. And it's the same thing as if you were in, the 17th century or 16th century, 18th century, and you were to come into the, let's say you were in France and you were going to meet the King of France, and you came into the hall of France to the throne, and you weren't dressed to meet the king. It's a sign of disrespect. It just is. If you came to it's like coming to a formal event dressed in shorts and a tank top. Everyone's dressed in tuxes and gowns, and you're dressed in shorts and a tank top, or jeans and a t-shirt, or whatever he was wearing, black pants and a black shirt. It is a visual sign of disrespect. And if you're not politically attuned to that kind of nonverbal communication, then you really shouldn't even be in a position of power, because you don't know how power works. You don't know how political things work. And I was just thinking, that to me, that was like the beginning of the tone, because there's another clip where as soon as Trump comes out to meet Zelensky, Trump says a snide comment and says, "Oh, you dressed for the occasion." And he instantly knew the message that Zelensky was trying to deliver. And the fact of the matter is, if Zelensky wasn't trying to deliver that message, he already was a fool and put his foot in his mouth as soon as he stepped out of that car. And well, I would even say as soon as he decided not to put that suit on that morning. And there's also another thing that came out that said when the Treasury Secretary, I forget what his name is, went over to Kiev to hammer out and finish the deal, that Zelensky was late to the meeting by hours because he decided to sleep in, knowing that the secretary was there. And so there is this pattern of just maybe resentment and disrespect and just not. And JD Vance also brought it up too, that Zelensky campaigned with Kamala Harris. He bet on the wrong horse. And I think that's really what it comes down to. He doesn't like Trump. He doesn't want Trump. He doesn't want to deal with Trump, but he has to. But he doesn't know how, because he doesn't want to humble himself, because he's a prideful person. And I wanted to read something that I thought would be really good for this occasion. So this is the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, and I'm not really worried about the question here. But the question is basically like, my wife got this job and now she's all full of pride and feel like she's forgotten. But I really wanted to talk about this section here where it says, there's a difference in someone taking pride in their work and someone being prideful. Being proud of a good day's work is different from being proud at the expense of another. In almost every instance in the Bible, pride is associated with failure, not success. We hear a great deal about the inferiority complex, but the superiority complex of pride is seldom spoken of. Pride keeps thousands away from Christ as they ponder what their friends will think if they live a life surrendered to God. Jesus said, "Whoever exalts himself will be humbled, and he who humbles himself will be exalted." The entrance to the kingdom of heaven is gained through coming to Christ with a humble spirit, not of pride. And that is the biggest thing here. I think that Zelensky came into this meeting with a spirit of pride. He did not want to humble himself. He did not want to be grateful. He did not want to show a gratitude and appreciation. He didn't come bearing gifts. He didn't come with an attitude of thanks. He came with an attitude of pride, arrogance, entitlement, and it just says, he who humbles himself will be exalted, but he who exalts himself will be humbled. And he got humbled because he got taken out. He got kicked out of that meeting. There's another one that says that the internet can be used to preach God's gospel, and with a quick tap, pornography can pop up. There seems to always be a good or bad when it comes to technology, right? And it says that the Bible says that for people will be lovers of themselves, lovers of money, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy, unloving, unforgiving, slanderers, without self-control, brutal, despisers of good, traitors, headstrong, haughty, which is arrogant, lovers of pleasure rather than lovers of God. 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 2 through 4. Obsessing about self is destructive, and pride is a universal problem. Scripture tells us that the Lord hates 6 things, and one of those is pride. Proverbs chapter 6, verse 16. This is perhaps the greatest sin because it seems to lead to all others. And remember, pride, they say pride was Satan's fault, but pride was also our fault, right? Pride, and I heard something that was beautiful where it said, the absence of the belief in Christ, the absence of belief in God is belief in the self, right? When you center yourself as the center of the universe or as the arbiter of good and evil, when you make the self God, that's idolatry, right? And that in itself is living in pride. And I thought that this was really good, where it says the letter I sits in the middle of this little word pride, and it has and you have a great big ego. No one can expect victory and inward rest until the I has been conquered. God commands us to humble ourselves. That is our job. That is an active doing, right? We have to actively humble ourselves. We have to say, God, you're in charge. We have to say, this is out of my control. And I think in the context of Zelensky, he's not recognizing that he's not in control. He's not recognizing that his friends are not in control in the White House anymore. And he didn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it whatsoever. So I think that it's very easy to be prideful when you're only thinking about yourself. And we have to humble ourselves by crucifying our flesh, right? As the Bible says, by not giving into what we want, but giving into what God wants. And when we humble ourselves, or when we recognize it's not about me, it's not about our thing. And I think that's the problem, is Zelensky came to the United States only focused on Ukraine and himself. Yeah, he's in a war. We understand that. Everyone understands that. We all know that. But that's not how you get aid from people. Especially America, who's given him so much. And I think that he made a huge miscalculation on so many different fronts, and it cost him. And it might cost him everything. And that leads us to the $350 billion question. Have we already done enough for Ukraine? Weapons, intelligence, equipment, $183 billion in cash. We did all of that while our southern border was wide open. Trump came in, and now within the first, 40 days, our border is sealed, and waste, fraud, and abuse is being found and stopped. We have common sense politics, common sense policy for the first time in a long time. You, someone who goes to work every day, someone who raises kids, who pays taxes, who pays bills, when are you going to have your say? Are you fed up with your money going across the ocean into a fight that they can't win? They don't want to do a deal and I'll say this. The left has attacked this deal and said some weird stuff like, we've given them $183 billion and now we want $500 billion in minerals. People don't understand how investments work. In a business, or when you buy a property to flip, you buy a property at a cheaper price because it's deteriorated. You put your own money into it, and then you try to sell it for a profit on the open market. With a business, you buy stocks when they're low, you hold on to them. Over a long period of time, as the company appreciates, your income goes up. But the money that you pay goes to the company, right? And hopefully the managers of that company put the money to good use and make it better. The point about investing is that whatever you invest in, you want your return to be exponential. America has given $350 billion in cash, weapons, ammunition, intelligence, right? So we're investing in the asset, which is Ukraine, right? So think of it like that. Think of us giving the money and buying the minerals, and over time it's going to pay us back, our money back plus interest, like an investment, like when the bank gives you a mortgage and you pay them their money back plus interest. Otherwise, they're not going to give you a mortgage. It's the same thing. If anybody has a problem with us paying a bunch of money to anyone and then not getting paid back plus interest, need to go sit over there or leave the country. Matter of fact, if you have investments, you should just stop investing. You should just give all your interest back to the person that you're making the money or that you've invested in, because that's what you're asking us to do as a country. That's what deals are. That's how deals get made. Especially when you're the person that's put up the money. That's what Trump means by the Europeans gave it in the form of a loan. They gave it in the form of a loan, so they get their money back plus interest. Trump wants to take the money we've spent and he wants to secure the money to an asset so that it will accumulate. And if they don't pay it, we get it. And the deal is that we get 50% of the profits of those minerals. We're not just taking them, amongst other things. But the point is if you let someone borrow money, you want that money secured in case something happens and you can't, and you lose the money. You want recourse. You want to be able to get your money back. That's why mortgages, that's why banks secure the money they lend you against the house that you're buying. In case you stop paying, they'll take the collateral. They'll take the house back. Because they don't want to give you $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 to buy something and then you don't pay and then they never get their money back. That's not how it works. Nobody does that. So again, it's either they're being disingenuous or they're just being ignorant of how these things work. But both can be true at the same time, I guess. But what do you think? Do you think we've paid enough? Do you think that we're owed compensation for what we have paid? Are you offended by the remarks of Zelensky saying that we're going to feel it later? Do you think that he's being arrogant, prideful, rude, disrespectful? Or do you believe the left-leaning media, Trump was a bully and he's a big meanie? You know, America's just a big meanie. What do you think? Does Ukraine have a right to demand more of us, the taxpayers? Or should they really be grateful with what they have and humble themselves? Love to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below. This moment has just changed the course of U.S. foreign policy, and it has. And the media will never tell you the truth. They will never tell you the full truth because it makes them look bad. Drop a comment below. Was Trump right to push back, or should the U.S. still be sending aid? Subscribe for more unfiltered real commentary. You can follow me on Instagram at The Kyle M Show and follow me on X